And I got to say, every time I hear my bio read, I look around for the successful guy that fits that bill, and it's not me. I'm reminded of that every night by my wife and my 3-year-old daughter. But it is an honor to be here tonight, and Jonathan, thank you for the kind introduction. Professor Reichman, Professor Gaynor, thank you for inviting me to address on this very special and important occasion. Congressman Pittenberger, John Myers, thank you so much for your comments. Mr. Glaw, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished visitors, thank you for having me tonight. It's an honor and a privilege to address the World Summit on Counterterrorism in the company of experts who are committed to protecting us from terrorism. Our embassy is pleased to support the exchange of knowledge that takes place here and which contributes to the security of the United States and Israel and of peace-seeking people all around the globe. It is as important as it is humbling that we set time aside and focus on counterterrorism in order to remember the moments and most especially the victims of 9/11 and the other terror attacks around the world that we will never forget. It is entirely fitting that amidst discussions on how to fight and defeat terrorism, we also stop to remember terrorism's human victims, the mothers, the fathers, children's, siblings, and we think through the first responders that did respond and those that didn't return. And if I could, I saw my 3 first responders. If you could stand, and I'd like to offer you a round of applause if you could. Thank you, gentlemen, for making the trip and representing today. It is not lost on us the service you have provided, the toll it takes, the friends that you have lost, and the contribution you continue to make. So thank you. This is also an opportunity to recognize the people who daily commit their lives through service to protect against terrorism that enable the counterterrorism enterprise to be so successful. Counterterrorism at its heart about people. Hardworking members of the intelligence community, the military, law enforcement, public officials who make policies and determine priorities, academics and analysts like we're with today who study the latest trends, and engineers, cyber experts who give us the technologies we need to stop those who choose to inflict harm or worse. We are in a constant debt to these committed individuals and must never take for granted their hard work, sacrifice, and their essential roles in making possible the relative comfort that we all enjoy here today. As a member of the United States Air Force, the memory of 9/11 is seared deep within me, and I'll never forget that day. From watching with horror and sadness the devastation in New York, to witnessing with all of you the attack on the Pentagon, experiencing the fear and trepidation of the next impending attack, to the realization that the great heroes gave their lives to save others with the crash of United Airlines Flight 93 in the fields of Pennsylvania. 9/11 was indeed a sad day for the United States and for peace-loving people all around the world. 18 years ago tomorrow, almost 3,000 innocent lives, including 5 Israelis, were violently taken in these terrorist attacks on the Twin Towers, the Pentagon, and in the aforementioned United Airlines Flight 93 attack. The people of Israel, no stranger to the realities of the effects of terrorism, understood with no doubt and shared our pain. We know that Israelis share not only grief in the face of terrorism, but also our determination to strike at violent extremism wherever it may reside, and to make sure these tactics never bring about political success. Yet as sad as these moments were, they only served to steel our resolve and to combat and counter terrorism wherever it may exist. Within mere moments, as the world took stock of these tragic events, the United States Joint Force leapt into action. Even as the Pentagon burned and evacuations were being conducted, the operations tempo did not stop. Our friends and allies, strong relationships built over decades through trust and cooperation, sprung to our aid and have stood by us ever since. Americans were immediately heartened, especially by the true sympathy and support that we received from our Israeli friends. While we largely defeated earlier versions of al-Qaeda, they continue to operate as remnants of ISIS, and groups such as Hezbollah and Hamas continue to threaten peace-loving people. Threats to stability remain as terrorist groups with long reach continue to murder the innocent and threaten peace more broadly. Terror groups still employing traditional forms of terror tactics have also adapted and present new challenges. From knife-wielding murderous attacks to the use of cyber as a weapon, the increased weaponization of unmanned aerial vehicles, terrorism continues to adapt itself as to those who seek to destabilize and sow discord. As a result of these changes, we must continue to do what we can and to support counterterrorism efforts while enabling the counterterrorism community to continuously adapt. In the United States, we recognize that to win in this demanding environment, we must field a lethal, resilient, and rapidly adaptive joint force, combined with a robust constellation of allies and partners. Focused on thwarting terrorism, we must remain vigilant. The United States is committed to this by meeting the enemy on their turf, utilizing the full range of power available to the United States, whether it be diplomacy, intelligence and information, military or economic tools. We will target these threats at their source, and we will confront threats before they reach our borders or cause harm to our people. We must continually look for innovative ways to confront the threat in order to best counter it. For years, we demanded better intelligence, better technology, and better security. Today, we have achieved great success in these areas and continue to prove every day. Things today are better than they were 18 years ago. Our fight against terrorism remains steadfast and has largely been successful. We will never let up. And while we have greater security today than in years past, challenges still exist. And those challenges often now take on new forms. The challenges for us today is how best to make use of our information and resources we have been afforded. Information sharing, dialogue, leveraging technology, and cooperation are keys to stopping terror before it has the chance to take root. The United States has no illusions about the high cost of fighting terrorists wherever they are. Since 9/11, we have fought difficult wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, where our servicemen and women continue to make sacrifices, as well as in global, often unheard of battlefields through Asia, Africa, and places closer to home that we are in today, such as Syria and Yemen. But we resolved never to allow terrorists to kill innocent people or intimidate and frighten them into submission by sowing chronic fear that disrupts people's abilities to lead ordinary and peaceful lives. This imperative guides the United States in protecting our citizens at home, and it guides America and its coalition partners and its mission. The United States and Israel cooperate intensively on counterterrorism, not all of which can be discussed here. We share intelligence, we confer on strategies, we look at counterterrorism from a variety of angles in homeland security, and we collaborate on many new technologies. Our countries regularly conduct joint exercise to improve our military capabilities, enhance interoperability, and strengthen our bilateral security relationships. In all of these areas, I can say without reservation, in Israel, we have an outstanding ally and partner. Israel has a robust legal framework to counter terrorism and promote international legal assistance in the investigation and prosecution of terrorists. All of these efforts encompass global initiatives to defeat terrorist, violent extremist groups, cutting off resources that support them, countering terrorist messaging and curbing the movement of foreign terrorist fighters, and work hand in hand with our military efforts. Alongside with our close cooperation in counterterrorism, the United States and Israel remain very close partners in the military affairs. Over the past decade, more than half of total American foreign military financing worldwide has gone towards foreign military financing in Israel alone, including in particular funding for missile defense support and Iron Dome. The United States has invested heavily in multi-layer missile defense programs such as partnered programs as Arrow 3 between Boeing and IAI, and David Sling in order to defend against mid-tier threats. Israel is operating the F-35 Air Joint Strike Fighter, which is quickly becoming the backbone of the Israeli Air Force for the next generation, and will continue to receive additional aircraft across the combat and lift mission sets. All told, cooperation between the United States and Israeli militaries has never been closer, and we could never be more lockstep. Besides the preemptive and reactive measures that we are taking to thwart terrorists and counter our enemies, it remains important to seek out positive and proactive measures that can build trust, improve conditions for possible peacemaking. But the surest way to build that trust and improve conditions is through the strength of forces, working together, preventing war by being prepared to win. The United States will always use its power and leadership to defend its interests and security of its allies. In memory of the men and women who perished on 9/11 and its aftermath, we owe it to them to seek peace, free from fear and terror, a peace that can only come through strength derived from wisdom, common knowledge, and cooperation. Thank you.